Sometimes your website may need to perform the same action multiple times. For instance, if you're asking a user for their login credentials and enter that information wrong, you might want to prompt them again and say, "Excuse me, but give us the right information." Or if you're trying to print out all the information for all the users in a list, you might need to loop through those. Well, you can do just that with PHP scripts by taking advantage of looping structures. They're very similar to the if, else, and else ifs that we've seen before, except rather than deciding whether a block of code should execute once, they decide whether it should execute multiple times. Let's take a look at the while loop. It has a very similar structure to the if statement. You start with a while keyword, a set of parentheses to evaluate an expression, and your curly braces for the block of code that should execute. However, there's slight differences. For one, let's go ahead and prime the read. What that means is we need to set a variable that will be examined in the expression. We'll set it to 0 for now. So while x is less than 10, let's execute this block of code. And we're just going to echo out, I can type echo, the value of x with a break statement, so it's formatted appropriately. So if we would run this code right now, what would happen is the while loop would evaluate this expression, is x less than 10? Well, we know that that's true because x is 0, and execute the code in the body, which is just line 7. But rather than breaking out and then going to the bottom, so line 9, like an if statement would, it's actually going to jump all the way back to the top, the while loop here, and examine that expression again. See whether x is less than 10, which it is, and the loop will continue until this expression is false. So you may have already picked up on one more thing we need to do with while loop. We have to update the iterator in the loop, which for our purposes right now is x. Because if we ran this, our loop would go on forever because the value of x never changes. This statement will never become false. So if I click this refresh button, we're not going to get some results we want. So we should update the loop. And we're going to go, our x is equal to $x plus 1 because we want to loop through it 10 times, right? So if we save and execute, there we go. This loop performed 10 times from 0 to 9. If we walk through this one more time, we see x is equal to 0, and while x, or 0, is less than 10, print out the value of x, and then set x to equal itself plus 1. Then we jump back to the top and we see if x, which is now 1, is less than 10, execute the loop again, over and over. Pretty great, right?